A very happy Friday to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Up North Live Unscripted. The main story today is that messy, wintry weather that is heading our way will be here throughout the weekend. So for more on that, let's turn things over to meteorologist Trevor Robideau. Trevor, what can folks expect this weekend?
Well, a very wide range of things. Many people well to the north into the Straits and eastern upper will be seeing widespread freezing rain, sleet, and even heavy wet snow, whereas a lot of us in the south and in the northern lower are going to see potentially hail and storms. And so it's a very complicated, messy system. We'll take a look at our three big things to start here. Ice storm warning through tomorrow morning with potentially up to as much as ½ an inch of ice accumulation as possible in the Straits and eastern upper tonight through tomorrow morning. Long-lasting power outages will also be possible with ice on electronics, and storms with severe potential south of that with hail or lightning or heavy rain will also be possible tonight. All that is just tonight through tomorrow morning. There's a look at our winter weather headlines. There's the ice storm warnings in the eastern upper. That's the very deep purple with significant icing likely where a tenth of an inch up to a quarter of an inch will be likely in many areas in the Straits and eastern upper tonight. Winter weather advisories as well for our Straits counties. That's Emmett County, Sheboygan County, and Presque Isle County. The shaded counties below that are winter storm watches for more freezing rain and sleet potential tomorrow evening. There's a look over radar conditions continuing to worsen, especially up north of the bridge and along it into the Straits region. All that pink is a mix of sleet and wintry mix. The purple is freezing rain, and the heavy blue and white is heavy, wet, dense snow. And south of that, we have some rain and storms this evening. There's the look at the outline overall. The snow, we have a potential for snow in the very northernmost parts of the eastern upper. The remainder of the eastern upper through the Straits will be mostly a mix of sleet and freezing rain. That's where we have that significant ice potential tonight. And then everything south of that in the northern lower, a mix of showers and even storms with hail potential tonight. So there's a look at tomorrow as well. More significant icing will be possible. Mostly rain and storms south with snow and more icing possible in the eastern upper. We'll break this down and cover all that in the deep brief in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you so much, Trevor. And with all of this active weather, right now emergency services and utility companies are busy preparing for the worst and also standing by the Mackinac Bridge Authority. So when it comes to actually potentially closing down the bridge, MDOT says it's never in their control, always in response to the weather. The latest update from the Bridge Authority, according to their website, is they have a special condition right now. They say ice is forming on the grading of the bridge, so please stay in the right-hand lane. Now, Daniel Zivian has more on what you can expect at the bridge if conditions do get worse.
High-profile vehicles require escorts at wind speeds above 35 miles per hour. At 50 miles per hour, high-profile vehicles are off the bridge. At 60, the Mackinac Bridge shuts down. But MDOT says if the forecast is right, the bridge might close due to falling ice.
It's difficult for anybody that's not on the bridge to envision what is actually happening out on the bridge. But we can have essentially ice spears that are forming and falling from the suspender cables. Large sheets of ice that can be, in some cases, as large as a garage door that fall off and fall to the deck below.
Cloverland Electric serves the eastern upper peninsula and may have to restore power to some of Michigan's most remote corners. CEO Mike Heiss says people should be aware of generator safety in the event of an outage.
When they put that generator in, how they connect it, should always be done by someone that certified knows what they're doing. But in the event that they don't, that's probably one of the biggest things that people always have troubles with is just, making sure that it is a safe environment when you run your generators.
That was Daniel Zivian reporting, and Heiss says tree crews are lined up and ready to go for the weekend. Now, when it comes to any updates on conditions over the Mackinac Bridge, be sure to check out the current conditions on the Bridge Authority's website. You can also sign up for text updates, and we have a link to that on our website, UpNorthLive.com. And Consumers Energy held a news conference today ahead of this weekend as we prepare for potential severe weather. They are preparing for potential outages across northern Michigan. Consumers says it'll have mobile command centers in Cadillac and Houghton Lake, along with pre-staged equipment trailers.
We're moving heavy equipment that we have from both the electric and the gas side of our business up there to be able to move debris out of roads, move limbs out of the road, be able to get down roadways in order to restore customers.
And we are keeping an eye on power outage across northern Michigan. We'll have some updates for you tonight on Up North Live News at 11 and on our website. But with potential outages, we want to know if you have a backup power source. So let's take a look at our question of the day, which is exactly that. Do you have a backup power source for your home? Scan the QR code on your screen right now. That will take you to our website where you can vote. As of right now, we have 193 votes and 60% say yes, they do have a backup power source. So as always, I will keep an eye on those results and we'll take another look at them toward the end of the show. All right, in some lighter news, we are looking ahead to an exciting event happening. The Au Valley Animal Shelter and best-selling author Jonathan Rand are partnering to help get pets adopted and to encourage reading. So the Au Valley Animal Shelter is hosting an adoption event at the Gaylord PetSmart tomorrow, and it comes on National Adoption Week, so perfect timing. And not only will families be able to meet some very adorable adoptable pets, but they also get a chance to meet Jonathan Rand.
Everybody that attends that has a child goes home with a free book. We're also going to have some puppies there and some cats. So we're super excited just to get the smaller puppies out, get them some socialization, get them some time, you know, with strangers, with new people. They'll also be available for adoption.
Puppies and getting to meet Jonathan Rand, younger me would go absolutely crazy for an event like this. The event is happening tomorrow at the Gaylord PetSmart from noon until 3 p.m. Well, speaking of reading, the National Writers Series in Traverse City is hosting a pretty exciting author in a couple of weeks. Author Jennifer Weiner will be at the City Opera House on April 9th at 7 a.m. And to talk a little bit more about the author, in case you aren't familiar with her, we turn things over to our guest tonight, Amanda Sewell. She is actually going to be the guest to introduce Amanda during to introduce Jennifer rather during the National Writers Series event. So Amanda, thanks so much for joining us on Unscripted tonight.
Hi Maya, thanks for having me.
So I got to start with this. How did you get the gig of being a guest host and getting to actually talk with Jennifer during this event?
Well, frankly, I asked. I saw they had announced that Jennifer Weiner was coming and that they hadn't announced a guest host yet. And I sent Ann Stanton an email and I said, I love Jennifer Weiner. I've read almost all of her books and I'm an experienced interviewer. I'm the music director at Interlaken Public Radio, which is where I'm sitting right now. And I said, can I combine these skills and interview her and be the guest host for the National Writers Series? And they said yes. And here I am, so I'm very excited.
You sound like the perfect person for the job. So since you have read so many of Jennifer's books, can you tell us a little bit about her writing style? What kind of books does she typically write?
They are books about women's lives, women's stories, the relationships that women have, mothers and daughters, sisters, and oftentimes over a period of years. The newest book, the one that we're going to be talking about during the National Writers Series events, is set 20 years. It's set in the present day and then 20 years earlier, and we see how the relationship between the sisters has changed over time. Jennifer Weiner also tends to write characters who are very smart, funny women living in bigger bodies, who society doesn't always welcome those types of women, and just how those characters navigate in a world that maybe isn't so excited to have them in it.
And so for people who maybe have never been to a National Writers Series event and they are interested in learning more about Jennifer, or they have read some of her books and are just really excited to hear your conversation, what will that night look like?
So the National Writers Series is great. Doug and Ann Stanton bring in writers who are on national book tours. So you get New York bestsellers, you get Pulitzer Prize winners coming right here to Traverse City at City Opera House. And it's actually quite casual. There's just two chairs on the City Opera House stage, the guest author and then the guest host. So it's sort of like dropping in on somebody's living room while you're there at City Opera House. So there's an hour-long conversation, some about the book, but in fact, because most of these authors are there to talk about a book that's just come out, the people in the audience may not have read the book yet. So the conversation tends to be about the author themselves and their lives and their perspectives. And so anytime I've gone just as an attendee, I've come away with a really wonderful experience getting to know this author and their perspective more, regardless of what the book was about or who the author is. So even if the particular author or the particular book may not sound like your first choice, it's an incredible event because you get to meet an author and get to know them regardless of the topic of their book.
And I'm sure for you, it'll be really cool to kind of switch roles and go from being in the audience as an attendee to being up on stage as a guest host. What are you looking forward to most?
I have been reading Jennifer's books for 20 years. I'm just really excited to get to meet her. I have followed her on her social media platforms. She had a blog. She was well known a decade or so ago for live tweeting episodes of The Bachelor when we watched TV in real time. And now she has a Substack, which she calls the Inevitable Substack. She's on Instagram. In fact, today is her birthday, so happy birthday, Jennifer Weiner. And so it's been really neat to follow her all these years, and now I get to meet her in person and ask some of the questions that I've had for her all these years.
That is very exciting. So what do you like so much about her? I'm assuming, I guess I don't want to put words in your mouth. I can't say she's one of your favorite authors, but since you've read so many of her books, I'm sure she at least made your top 10 list, right?
Yeah, and her books are a lot of fun. I was talking with somebody about them, and these are, they're book club reads, they're beach reads, but with an edge. They're not as predictable as your average beach read. There are incredibly funny, witty moments in her books, and the way she describes relationships, she puts into words things that are sometimes really hard to describe. And I will say that almost all of her books feature a very important relationship between one of the characters and their dog. So if you're a dog lover, her books might be the right choice for you too.
Sounds right up my alley. I need to get my hands on one of her books ASAP. Is there anything else that you want to say about just the opportunity of getting to have this conversation with Jennifer Weiner, or anything else that you think people should know about the National Writer Series event?
Well, Maya, if I can speak for you and for most of us who work in journalism here in the region, it's always been a dream of mine to get to host the National Writer Series, to get to be the guest on stage interviewing the guest author. So I'm just so thrilled to have the opportunity to get to be the guest host for this event, and the fact that it is an author whose work I enjoy so much is just a bonus.
I'm just so excited for you. Like, I'm just picturing myself getting to interview one of my favorite authors, and that would be such an amazing experience. So I hope you enjoy it. Do you know how people can get tickets?
Yes, they are at nationalwriterseries.org. It's Wednesday, April 9th at 7 o'clock at City Opera House, and it will also be live streamed if you're not able to go in person.
Perfect. Well, Amanda, thanks so much for joining us on Unscripted. I hope you have a wonderful conversation with Jennifer, and I kind of want to hear about it afterwards, so we might have to touch base again after the event.
Sounds great. Thank you, Maya.
Thanks, Amanda. All right, we do need to take a quick commercial break, but as we've been talking about a lot in the forecast for this upcoming weekend, meteorologist Trevor Robideau will break it all down for you in just a couple of minutes.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Well, we've been talking about it all week. Messy weather in the forecast for this weekend. And depending on where you live, you could see some snow, you could see rain, freezing rain, some just storms. So for more details, let's bring in our meteorologist, Trevor Robideau. And Trevor, we know some people are already starting to see some of the effects of this messy storm.
That's right, and those conditions that you were mentioning are only going to get worse over the course of tonight, and the system's going to stick around. It really has 3 different phases over the course of the entire weekend. I'm going to talk about all of them, and none of them look good, and all of them look absolutely bizarre. We'll take a look at our three big things to start things off. Ice storm warning in the eastern upper tonight through tomorrow morning with up to as much as half an inch of ice accumulation as possible. Long-lasting power outages will also be possible, and storms with severe potential south of that where we could see some hail and lightning will also be possible. There's a look at the weather headlines. The very deep purple up to the north is the ice storm warning where significant icing is likely, where we could have anywhere from 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch will be likely in those regions. South of that, in our Straits counties, that's Emmett County, Sheboygan County, and Presque County, that's winter weather advisories. And the counties below that that are shaded are the winter storm watches for potentially more freezing rain and sleet accumulation tomorrow evening. There's the look overhead at radar where we can see conditions continuing to get worse, especially along the Straits and eastern upper tonight. The pink is a mixture of sleet, wintry mix, whereas the purple in the eastern upper is freezing rain and potentially sleet, and all the blue and white is heavy, wet snow. And you can see some lightning bolts there. That is thunder snow or thunder mix moving through the region, so the very unstable atmosphere giving us some lightning tonight. And south of that into the northern lower, we see some storms passing through the region off to the east of I-75 near Mile, extending towards parts of Alpena and Alcona counties tonight. All these conditions are going to continue to get worse. Here's the outline overall. Very far to the north, hugging Lake Superior, is most likely to be snow. Everything south of that in the eastern upper through parts of the Straits will be a mixture of sleet and freezing rain. That's where we have our significant ice potential tonight. And then everything south of that, shaded by the blue, is a mixture of showers with some storms with hail potential possible. Tonight, we'll continue to see those conditions get worse. Any rain that we have left in the eastern upper and Straits will turn over to widespread sleet and freezing rain tonight. And just south of that boundary will be some widespread rain along that region, where we could see the potential for some significant storms tonight with some hail potential and heavy rain and even more lightning. That's phase 1 of this system. Tomorrow will be phase 2 in the morning, mostly quiet with a few lingering snow showers to the north, but our freezing rain should end momentarily with some isolated storms to the south around our central counties and Grand Traverse region. Over the course of the afternoon, things will continue to remain mostly quiet, but it's later in the evening when we see freezing rain and sleet return to the forecast along and east of I-75 in the evening tomorrow. Areas mostly to the west and south of that will continue to be rain. That's phase 2. And then phase 3 is on Sunday when the system moves back up to the north, where the eastern upper will get another round of widespread sleet and rain for the majority of the day. And then in the evening, we'll have a round of severe weather potentially moving through Sunday night. So that's all in all what we've got. The biggest story with this is the ice accumulation, where over the course of tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday, we could see as much as or more than half an inch of ice accumulation or more in some areas, generally speaking about 1/10 to 1/4. Here's a look at our forecast, four-zone forecast tonight. Widespread freezing rain off to the northeast. Everything west of that and south of that will be mostly rain tonight with a few storms possible. Again, there's the hail potential too. Then tomorrow, AM mix turning to freezing rain in the evening. AM rain turning to mixed freezing rain off to the east. Freezing rain with mostly rain, and then rain and storms in our central counties. That system will end by the end of this weekend.
All right, thank you so much for that, Trevor, and he will have an update tonight in Up North Live News at 11. But right now, let's take a quick break, but don't go anywhere just yet. Sports is next. Stay with us. A big night for college basketball fans as both Michigan and Michigan State are competing in the Sweet 16 tonight. For a closer look, let's turn things over to Sports Director Harrison Beebe, who's joining us live now in the Content Center. Hey, Harrison.
Yeah, this will be a unique 5 hours for Michigan and Michigan State fans. And at this point, if you're watching one, you're definitely at least going to keep a close eye on the other. Michigan State playing first with Ole Miss. That game's going to tip off in about 10 minutes from Atlanta, Georgia. And then immediately following that game, Michigan will take on the tournament's top overall seed in Auburn. So it's the Big Ten going up against the SEC, which had 7 teams make the Sweet 16. So do the math. 7 out of 16. It's almost half the field are made up of this conference. That's how impressive they are. So neither of these wins will be easy. We know the Michigan one, they're technically underdogs. So that's a challenge in itself. But if both teams would pull off wins tonight, it would set up an Elite Eight game with each other with a spot in the Final Four on the line. And to add a lot of drama to that, if it happens, these two have never met in NCAA tournament history for Division I men's basketball. So that could be a pretty cool element in itself if they both get wins tonight. With long ways to go before that becomes official, but a lot on the line for both teams, not just for their own programs, but to set up a ginormous tournament game for the state of Michigan if it happens. And Maya, we want to circle that game at the bottom. Grand Valley State's women's basketball team playing for a national championship tonight. Now, yeah, Grand Valley State is out of our viewing area. They're down in the Grand Rapids market. But we have 3 Northern Michigan girls that are playing on that team. They played up here in high school just a few years ago. In fact, one of them as recently as last year guided Lake City to the state semifinals. We know Mackenzie and Riley Bisbal, they're from Lake City, a pair of sisters, are the top 2 scorers for the Lakers playing for a national championship tonight. And Molly Anderson from Cadillac is also on the team. So 3 area girls are helping propel that team to what could be a national championship by the end of the night. That game tips off at 7 o'clock. I believe it's playing in Pittsburgh.
All right, well, that is awesome. And before we go, Harrison, really quick, what do you think the chances are of Michigan and Michigan State both winning tonight and facing off against each other in the Elite Eight? Do you think it could happen?
I think it could happen, but the SEC is going to have a strong say in that before it's said and done. So I think it's highly unlikely.
All right, Harrison, thanks so much for that. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
We've been talking all day about the messy weather in the forecast for this weekend that could lead to some potential power outages across northern Michigan. So our question of the day, do you have a backup power source for your home? 61% say yes, 39% say no. Over on Facebook, Melissa says, yes, I do. I can power my whole home in bad weather. Water and toilets work. Richard says our outdoor generator is filled up with gas. Laura says yes, and now that we have it, we will never need it. That is Murphy's Law, right, Laura? But you never know. You could even need it this weekend. Be sure to join us tonight on Up North Live News at 11. Meteorologist Trevor Robideau will have the very latest on the forecast, but that'll do it for me here on Unscripted. Thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy your evening.